Hello everyone and welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today is Thursday, so we're going to be talking about the NFL single game slate, the Thursday night slate, the Showdown Slate, however you would like to call it, for the Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers. So I'm going to be taking a look at my player pool, my core captain picks once again for both sites. So we're going to run through the player pool real quick. These are guys that are in play for me in general. Does not mean that if somebody's not listed on the list that you cannot play them, though. These are just the guys that really stand out to me or would work in lineups that I'm building. So on the Draftkings side, we got Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey. He's a great player. However, if you're going to play him in the captain spot, it's going to cost you like 40% of your budget, so it's hard to get there. But there are some cheap options on this slate that you're able to do so if you want to do that. Sam Darnold's next up after him. Fairly decent price, maybe a little bit overpriced for Sam Darnold, but still in play for this matchup. DJ Moore, one of my favorite picks, one of my favorite captain picks as well. Some people may argue he's a little overpriced, but he's been relatively consistent so far this year. Brandon Cooks, $10,000, probably right in line, if Tyrod Taylor was playing, but without Davis Mills, maybe you fade Brandon Cooks just a little bit, but he'll mix into some lineups here and there as well. Davis Mills at $8,400 for a quarterback is a decent price. However, I do not have a lot of faith in Davis Mills overall, so we'll just have to see that. I think if you're playing probably like 20 lines, maybe you end up with like 2 of them with Davis Mills, so probably about 10% exposure to Davis Mills overall if you're in that situation. So maybe if you're in a 150 max, maybe you end up with like 15 to 20 of them. Next up is Robbie Anderson. It seems like a lot of people are kind of talking about him for this slate. He really hasn't done much this year. I don't hate the price tag, but you're probably looking for a touchdown out of him for him to really pay off for that price tag. Panthers defense, once again, we got a defense over $6,000 for the Showdown Slate, which is kind of crazy, honestly. It should be a pretty good matchup against a rookie third-round quarterback who is a reach at that. Panthers defenses look pretty good so far this year, so definitely in play. Probably wouldn't play them in my captain spot, but definitely in consideration for a flex spot. David Johnson, I do like at $5,400. The least expensive of the Texans' 3 running backs. If they're down in this game, he's going to be that pass-catching back. Gives some upside there. I don't really think Mark Ingram's got too much upside unless you're building a narrative where the Texans are just kind of grinding away the clock and get coming ahead in that situation. You could definitely do that too, but it's probably not very likely. And then next up is Terrace Marshall Jr. at $4,000. He is actually quite a value here. Only playing about 50 to 55% of snaps so far through the first 2 weeks. Potentially going against Desmond King in the slot. Not the best matchup in the world for any of the Panthers wide receivers, but at that price tag, still in consideration, still a solid flex play. Both kickers are in play once again, $3,800 and $3,600 respectively for Zane Gonzalez and Joey Sly. Then the Texans defense, I do have them on there. Sam Darnold has made mistakes in the past. I don't think it's the worst play in the world. If you're playing 20 lines, maybe they make them into about 2 lines or so, maybe 1 line, just to be a little bit different here and there. Pharaoh Brown, $2,600. I do like Pharaoh Brown, maybe Jordan Akins a little bit, just because there's not a lot of pass catchers healthy right now for the Texans. And then Davis Mills, rookie quarterback. Sometimes rookie quarterbacks like to target their tight ends early on. Then where some of the real value is on this slate, we got Chris Conley at $1,600 and Anthony Miller at $1,000. So Nico Collins is on IR right now, and then Danny Amendola will not be playing for this game. So these 2 wide receivers get a bump up. They are both under $2,000, so they're both going to be in a lot of lineups for me, honestly. I don't have a problem putting those 2 together. Even if I'm not playing any other Texans, if I'm going 4 Panthers and 2 Texans, I still have a decent amount of lines with just Chris Conley and Anthony Miller in those lines, and then building up, paying up for some of these other Panthers players in general. Andre Roberts, I just have him on there, $600. He's cheap enough at this point in time that you can consider playing him. Anthony Miller's not the most healthy guy in general when it comes to his injury history. Roberts is also the returner too, so he could always take a punt or a kickback for a touchdown. See some snaps as a wide receiver as well, so there's a little bit of value there. And then last but not least is Rex Burkhead at $200. Hasn't played like a ton this season, but maybe we see a little bit more of him in this game. Maybe they use him out wide as a wide receiver like the Patriots did at times. But that's kind of a quick little rundown on the flex plays. For my core captain picks, my favorite one on the slate is going to be DJ Moore. Probably Sam Darnold after that. Then a mix of Robbie Anderson, Brandon Cooks, and Christian McCaffrey after that. Once again, like I said, Christian McCaffrey is going to cost you a pretty penny if you do decide to pay up for him, but it's not out of the range of possibilities. Then on the FanDuel side, we got Christian McCaffrey, $17,500. Pretty expensive price tag once again, but it's Christian McCaffrey. You're probably going to have to play him at this point in time, and you could build some lineups where you do end up fading him on FanDuel. I think that's definitely a possibility, but betting against him is probably not the best thing in the world to do either. Sam Darnold at $15,000, still a solid play. DJ Moore, $1,400. Pretty much one of my favorite plays on the slate. Brandon Cooks at $1,300. Probably a guy that I'm going to be fading, just a little bit heftier of a price tag. Davis Mills at $12,000. Not really somebody I'm looking at on this slate, but he'll mix in here and there. Robbie Anderson, $10,000. I don't think it's a terrible price tag. Could be a little bit cheaper, but he does have some upside as well in this matchup. Both kickers in play once again at $95,000 and $9,000. Terrace Marshall Jr. at $8,500. Definitely someone to consider once again. Then David Johnson, $8,000. I believe he's either the cheapest or the second. I think he's the second cheapest running back on FanDuel. I think Philip Lindsay is $7,500. You could look at either one of those running backs in this game. Then we get down to Chris Conley and Anthony Miller. Once again, super cheap dart throws if you need to. Chris Conley, $7,000. Anthony Miller, $5,500. Then we got Pharaoh Brown and Andre Roberts at $5,500. So some pretty cheap plays at the end there for the Texans side. So once again, probably going to be looking at spending up more for the Panthers side and then playing some of these cheaper Texans options. For the core captain plays, DJ Moore comes in number one for me. Like I said, I already like him a lot on this slate. I think a lot of people are going to be going with Christian McCaffrey on FanDuel because you're not paying that extra price for that MVP spot. And I think putting DJ Moore there gives you a little bit of flexibility as well. Christian McCaffrey is obviously number two. Then probably Robbie Anderson, followed by Sam Darnold. Brandon Cooks I did throw in there for the Texans, but I think he is a little bit overpriced on FanDuel in general. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to Draftkings and build a quick little lineup. I'm going to start with Christian McCaffrey as the captain play here. So if we play Christian McCaffrey, we play Sam Darnold, and we play DJ Moore, for example. So we got about $2,700 per player left over. We're going to go ahead and put Anthony Miller and Chris Conley in at this point in time. They're two very cheap options in general. So we got $5,500 left over. You could look at David Johnson for $5,400. That definitely makes a lot of sense there. You could look at a Terrace Marshall. I think Terrace Marshall would be one that makes more sense if you're going for the 4 and 2 stack, which is usually more successful than the 3 and 3 stacks. So in this situation, you have Christian McCaffrey, you have Sam Darnold, DJ Moore, and Terrace Marshall all from the Panthers. Then Anthony Miller and Chris Conley on the Texans side. So this one does make a little bit of sense, especially for correlation purposes. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey is going to be in play. And this is a lineup, even with Christian McCaffrey, you're playing him and you still have $1,500 left over. So it's definitely possible on this slate. We'll go back and do a DJ Moore lineup real quick, just because he's probably my favorite captain play on this slate. So we're going to go with DJ Moore. Since we play DJ Moore, we're going to play Sam Darnold because that's pretty much what you do. If you play a wide receiver or a tight end in your captain spot, always play that player's quarterback. That's pretty much rule number one. Then we got Christian McCaffrey. We got $9,500 left over. So we're going to be looking at some cheaper plays once again. You could look at those same couple of Texans guys. We're going to put David Johnson in this time, though. Put David Johnson and put Anthony Miller in again, so we got $3,100 after that. And, you're looking in this price range. You could do the Texans defense. You could do Pharaoh Brown. You could even do like an Ian Thomas or somebody, but this is probably going to end up being more of a 3 and 3 stack. So we'll just throw Pharaoh Brown in there for now. There's quite a few different possibilities on here, so just kind of get into DraftKings, poke around, see what works best for you, kind of play, tinker. Honestly, on these slates, I'll go in DraftKings and I'll play around for maybe an hour or so and try to get a couple different lineups that I really do like. Then I'll end up entering them into the contest that I am playing. But with that being said, we'll get over to FanDuel. So on the FanDuel side, you're pretty much looking at DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey in that MVP spot. So we're just going to put Christian McCaffrey in there for now. If we do DJ Moore and Sam Darnold, we do not have a lot of salary left over, but there are those Texans cheap plays as well. So we could be looking at, let's see, we could do a David Johnson here, and then we'll have $5,500 left over. And then you can go with like an Anthony Miller. That's a lineup there that you could try. If you wanted to fade Christian McCaffrey, let's say that it's not something I recommend since he's probably going to be the top point scorer on the slate, but a way to make your lineup a little bit more unique. If we did this, I think we could actually go through and we could play Brandon Cooks and Davis Mills too if we really wanted to do that. And then we had $6,000 left over, so you'd be looking at one of those cheap options down at the bottom again. If we just want to play Brandon Cooks and not Davis Mills, then it gives us about $9,000 remaining in total. You could get a Phillip Lindsay. You could get a lot of different options here. So in this example, we'll use Terrace Marshall Jr. And then we could do the kicker. That would make sense. So that's an option there. We could do a 4-1 stack on the Fanduel side where you have DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall Jr., Sam Darnold, the kicker, and then Brandon Cooks on the Texans side. That's definitely a possibility as well. Like I said, there's quite a few options out there on this slate. Quite a few players in play. Some cheap value options that will really allow you to expand essentially what you can do with your lineup in general. So pretty good slate overall. Like I said yesterday, probably not the highest scoring game in the world. Over-under point total was 43. I think it does end up hitting the under. So you might be looking at guys that you know are just going to get production and not necessarily rely on touchdowns. Normally you're looking for guys that are going to score touchdowns on single game slates and trying to predict that. But in this case, you might be looking at guys that are going to produce no matter what, even if they do not get touchdowns. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on it for tonight's Showdown Slate. If you guys have any questions at all, please let me know. Definitely here to help you out the best that I can. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your fantasy football teams, helping you with DFS, whether it's NFL or NBA, talking all the different NFL news as it does come out. And then as we get closer to the 2022 NFL Draft, going to be talking some 2022 NFL Draft prospects. I've been watching some film on the wide receiver prospects for the 2022 NFL Draft, and I didn't think it was going to be that great of a wide receiver class. It should be a little bit deeper, but maybe not as much top-end talent. But there are some guys that I really do like so far. I'm definitely excited to share that with you guys when the time does come. But with that being said, if you are a new or current subscriber who's yet to do so, also hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Tomorrow's Friday, which will be the Dollar Store Stack Series, where I'm looking at cheap options, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends to stack to open up value elsewhere in your lineups for DFS for the main slate this weekend. Definitely excited for that one. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special little shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. Definitely means a lot to me. And I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.